Severin Films putting out A Bay of Blood on Black Friday, just a couple of weeks from now. This has a 5-disc set. The 5th disc, I think, is the soundtrack to the movie on CD. The other discs, though, include 3 versions of the movie: the English release, the original Italian release, and the Italian re-release. So my God, if this movie's one of your favorites, it sounds like Severin is putting out like the ultimate definitive edition. Has anyone seen this? I have not seen very many Mario Bava movies.
I have not seen this one, but I do know of the prowess of Mario Bava.
I think if any of us is going to see this first, it's probably going to be
It's going to be Ben.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to watch the Italian version.
I haven't been following Severin as closely lately, so I didn't know about this release.
Well, it just got announced within the last week. Dogma's coming out December 9th. This has been announced on Lionsgate Limited for a few weeks now, but they just announced a regular standard version that's also going to be available on December 9. It's a 4K restoration. It's got Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. It's got some new special features that you can see itemized on the screen right now. And at the same time, if you would rather have a fancier version, then you can get this steelbook with a slipcover on Lionsgate Limited's website. The wide version is available like everywhere, that one. But this one you have to go to Lionsgate Limited's website to purchase. And I would do it soon, because I bet this is something that's going to sell out if it hasn't already. Incidentally, the Descent that we reviewed last week, it's apparently not available on their website right now, so it might be sold out, or they might be waiting for another supply of it to come in.
I know you don't love this movie, but
it's all right, though.
I'm pretty excited about this. I will probably buy it.
What I remember loving is George Carlin.
Yeah.
That's what I remember loving the most.
It's definitely Kevin Smith's most, I think, his most commercial movie, but
maybe.
It's one of my favorites of his. So
Kevin Smith is one of those people that I love him a little more than I love his movies.
That's absolutely true.
My favorite Kevin Smith movies are his later horror movies, Red State and Tusk.
Yeah,
I thought those were his most remarkable films.
Tusk is so freaky.
It's weird as shit. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's just so balls to the wall bonkers that I have to give him kudos for that.
Yeah.
And then here's some stuff that I bet a lot of our viewers aren't going to give a crap about, but I'm excited because right up there at the top is an Errol Flynn movie, and I love Errol Flynn. I buy all Errol Flynn movies when they come to Blu-ray or 4K, and they're going back to the original Technicolor masters for a remaster of San Antonio. So I am pre-ordering that one. All of these other movies, though, I have not seen, and therefore do not care so much about. Although it is nice that they are continuing to release Hanna-Barbera stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you're into Wally Gator or Lippy the Lion there, you can get that shit from Warner Archives. And I do have to remind everyone, God bless Warner Archives, because if nobody else puts your shit out, Warner Archives will. They're kind of like Kino Lorber that way. All of these are coming December 16th. And then we've got something that Ben wanted to talk about. This would never have been on my radar. So, Ben, tell us about this filth called Blood Brothers and Baked Baby Jesus.
I like it already.
Yeah. I wanted to mention that we probably shouldn't use this cover, that the slip cover was probably a little better for the podcast. But
we'll talk about it quickly then so I can put it off screen.
Yeah, so basically, and also the baby Jesus part was not a tie-in to the devil theme here. That was an accident. But this film caught my attention, not just because of the cover art, but because there are films that were produced by Mike Diana. And now Mike Diana was, he has the dubious moniker of being the first artist to be jailed for obscenity in the United States. And that isn't necessarily to say that his art was just so horrific or atrocious to actually merit that. This happened in the early 90s. One day he got pulled over by a cop, whatever, random traffic infraction. And they found copies of his zine, they call it, on the back of his car. Now, a zine was kind of DIY magazines that people would do back in the day,
We know what zines are.
We
Ben.
know what.
Yeah,
they are.
yeah. I'm just explaining for the benefit of the audience, but
They know too.
yeah, okay. But so he had this zine in the back of his car, and it had a lot of like shocking imagery to it that, and was a reflection of what he saw as the hypocrisy in this Roman Catholic community that he lived in Florida, specifically Largo, Florida. So a little while later, he gets contacted by the state attorney in Florida, and it's told he's being charged with obscenity for his artwork, and that he actually became a person of interest just because he had these zines in the back of his car with the Gainesville murders that were going on in Florida at that time. He was cleared through a blood test, but then he got these obscenities charges afterward. And it was a week-long trial, and they found him guilty on 3 counts. They took him to jail immediately, and it wasn't just like the local lockup. It was a penitentiary, and he spent 4 days there, and I believe he had gotten out on bond. And afterward, he had 3 years of probation. He had a $3,000 fine, and he had to take a journalism ethics class on his own cost. And he had to get random inspections from the police over that course of that 3-year probation to make sure he wasn't creating more artwork and having it in his home. This is the first time that had happened in American history. And yeah, since then, he was friends with Frank Henenlotter. At some point, they developed a friendship, and he would just go to, and Frank Henenlotter being the director of like Frankenhooker and Basket Case and other exploitation classics like that. And he just happened to mention, he's like, oh, I got locked up for obscenity one time. And Henenlotter's like, what? And he told him the story, and they made a documentary about it called Boiled Angels. Now, what's weird is that this documentary has just kind of disappeared off the internet. There's listings on Amazon, Google Play, etc., but it just says that the license has expired. I reached out to the distributor. They just gave me a basic boilerplate response. They no longer distribute it. But it's just oddly disappeared off the face of the earth, despite the fact that this is a really major thing. That, in America, there have been a number of obscenity cases related to art, but they've more or less have erred on the side of protecting the artist. That did not happen in this case. So
what I'm hearing is that a movie like Back to the Future will come out, and you don't even care enough to see it. But if you can't get some filth like this, you go straight to the distributor.
Now, that being said, it's like, I believe that work like this is important. On its face, people might think it's just shock for the sake of shock or just puerile. But I think it's an important form of resistance. And in the case of the context of when he made these comics, when he made these films, there was this strong, like the whole satanic panic scare that was going on in the country, propelled by evangelical forces and sometimes the corporate interests that came along with that in the case of megachurches and that. Before that, there was a tradition of obscene comics, if you will, the underground comics, spelled with an X, in San Francisco in the 60s and 70s, which was a major movement and representative of the countercultural aspect of comics history. And that should have carried over, because they had their issues with the law, but they were never prosecuted like this. And so I think this is just
someone has to set the example. So apparently Mike Diana was the one.
Well, not necessarily, because
I haven't seen the movie, but after I do,
yeah.
God, I hope I don't have to watch this.
Specific to this,
but if I do, maybe I'll agree. I don't know. Probably
specific
not.
to this film collection. So these are a collection of SOV films, which was a whole other trend from the 90s once home video recorders became more accessible to consumers. Yeah, basically backyard films that you make with your friends. These are films that he did with the themes that he believed were important to express artistically. And Vinegar Syndrome's putting them out in a whole collection. Let me pull up the specs here. So these were films that were produced between 1987 and 1990. Total running time of 209 minutes. It's a region-free Blu-ray.
Did you say 209 minutes?
Yes, you did.
So that includes 2 feature films, Blood Brothers and Bake Baby Jesus, along with short films with new intros. Other Blu-ray features like an outtakes reel, which I imagine there's probably a lot. Blood Family Diary featuring Mike Diana and his mother, brother, sister, and nephew discussing the making of his films.
At least it's a family affair.
Yeah. Moving to Florida, a discussion between Mike Diana and Dead Formats convention organizer Noel Huffman. One Man Crew, a discussion between Mike Diana and filmmaker Victor Bonagor. The Horror Host Generation, a discussion between Mike Diana and artist filmmaker John Michael McCarthy. The Nasty 90s, a video essay by Mike Hunchback, which Mike Hunchback was one of the producers on the documentary. Worth mentioning. I just hope like there's some long shot somebody associated with the documentary will hear this and help me find a way to watch it, because literally just contacting the distributor led me nowhere. But Unsung Horrors podcast with Erica Schultz and Lance Shibby on Blood Brothers. Audio commentary on Blood Brothers and Baked Baby Jesus by Mike Diana, Noel Huffman, and Mike Hunchback. And a 32-page booklet by Mike Diana with artifacts and comics, which the latter part is super cool. And there's English subtitles. You don't always get that in SOV films. So.
Wow.
Have you tried one of these?
Wow, well, thanks. I'll give it a whirl.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt that Scott is going to add this immediately to the end of his
sight unseen. Sight unseen, and I will pay the exorbitant $50 to $70 Vinegar Syndrome prices for this too.
I think Mike Diana had a similar conversation when he was in prison. I was watching an interview where he was saying that he was locked up alongside murderers and rapists, and they were asking him like, "Well, what do you do to get here?" And he's like, "I drew some pictures," and that was all he could tell them.
Well, the history of it sounds fascinating.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying.
Don't make me watch this movie, Ben. I gotta draw the line somewhere. I still need to see some Best Picture Oscar winners before I see this one.
Let's go to soundtracks.
Okay. Enough with Baked Baby Jesus. We've got some no soundtracks yet. We've got some Kino Lorber releases. They're putting out the movie that sounds like Kotex and Tampax. But it's neither of those, it's K-Pax. And it looks like it's got a bunch of old special features coming January 6th. And then some more smut that only Ben will love coming out February 24.
I think it's this one and the other.
Is this their third Ilsa movie?
I think so, yeah.
They've put out the other two already. You're hoping for a box set.
Yeah. They said there's going to be a box set next year, so they're putting them out individually for now. There's some logistical reason why they couldn't do the box set up front, but so I'm holding out for that one.
There is no logistical reason. They just know that you'll buy them individually and then buy the box set
I have
too.
it. I'm holding out, so we'll see.
But you can get Ilsa, the third film, in all of its 4K glory in February. And Roof Man is coming out on 4K from Paramount on January 20th. And Warner Brothers is putting out One Battle After Another, which is looking to be an Oscar contender, on January 20th. And then the last movie announcement is this one. And the only reason I bring this one up is because I don't think I'd ever heard of it. And it kind of sounds interesting to me.
Pack Rats.
Pack Rats? What's that mean?
Isn't that what that says?
No, it says Patty Rocks.
Oh, Patty Rocks.
Put your glasses on, Dave.
It's very tiny on my screen. It's just this big.
It's called Patty Rocks, from a director named David Burton Morris, starring Chris Mulkey, John Jenkins, and a bunch of other people I don't know. It's expected to come in early 2026, but the synopsis is Billy Regis, a serial philanderer with an especially foul mouth, is less than delighted to hear that his downriver girlfriend, Patty Rocks, is pregnant with his child. To complicate matters, Billy has neglected to inform Patty about his wife and kids in Minneapolis. A frantic Billy persuades his straight-laced best friend, Eddie Hassett, to come with him on a debauched overnight road trip to find Patty, admit his sins, and persuade her to have an abortion. I almost wrote a screenplay that sounds a lot like this movie. So I'm interested in this because I've never heard of it. I've never heard of Fun City Editions, the people putting it out. It's not 4K, it's Blu-ray only. But this sounds like an obscure film that's on my radar now. Anyway, if anyone's seen it, please feel free to say something about it in the comments, because I would love to know some more about it. But if it's not exorbitantly priced, I might just buy it outright and give it a whirl next year. You guys haven't heard of it, right?
No, but it does sound interesting. Yeah, sounds cool.
It's not dirty enough for Ben.
No.
All right, we can do soundtracks now. There are only two, and that is Varese Sarabande has announced their next CD Club titles. I remember when Varese Sarabande CD titles were exciting and a big deal, and it just seems like since they were bought by a big company several years ago that they just haven't been spending much money to acquire any interesting titles. But if you're a Jerry Goldsmith fan, and there are a lot of them, Medicine Man's getting the expanded deluxe treatment, as is Brian Tyler's Timeline. You can pre-order these now at Varese Sarabande's website, and they ship January 16. Then we have books. Ben brought to my attention these Event Horizon comic books that are a sequel to the original movies.
Well, so they're actually a prequel, but apparently they're going to set up a sequel, and I don't know if that's in cooperation with a studio or what. But yeah, I've been subscribed to this series. I had a little bit of an interruption in my pull list because we moved cities, and the new comic shop is a little weird about ordering my comics. But in any case,
because they're smutty and dirty. Do you get dirty books?
No, they actually said this is a pretty popular one, and that they have to get sort of cycle. They couldn't get it for me the week of release because they had to do pre-orders as far back as October. So yeah, I've read the first two issues. It's really interesting. They set up all of the crew members of the original Event Horizon mission, and this kind of like plugs into what fans of this film have been wanting for a long time. There's some footage that almost has urban legend status where it depicts the original crew members in that extra dimension of hell. And so Event Horizon, quickly summarized, is the first faster than light travel ship makes its first jump, and in the process it crosses through a dimension akin to hell, and the whole ship becomes haunted and possessed, for lack of a better description. And this shows what happens to them while they're in that hell dimension. And what's interesting is it has a little bit of crossover with Hereditary, which I was not expecting in terms of which demonic entities cross over from that portal. But it sets up all the different crew members. I can't remember how specifically they were outlined in the film itself, but they set them up, and just in the spirit of the film, it underscores the traumas that they had before signing up. And the artwork is great, which is always a plus with modern comics. I usually skew more toward reading comics from the 80s and tie-ins from like the 90s Dark Horse, like Aliens, Predator, Terminator series. Because lately, I don't want to say they get lazy, because I'm sure it's just a circumstance of the industry where you just have to use a lot of digital computer-generated artwork, not AI yet. But
so basically, if you liked the movie, you might like the comic book.
Yeah, this is going to scratch that itch for what exactly happened.
I kind of liked the movie
before the events of the film, and apparently it sets up for a sequel. That's like the headlines we're talking about that I sent you, Scott. But
I don't know what it would take for me to pick up a comic book. I really don't. I don't like video games, and I don't like comic books. I'm just a weird person.
Boo.
There's also a Frankenstein book. If you're a big fan of what Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein put in your eyes and your ears last week, there's I think it's $75. It's available now on Amazon and assuming at other places. It looks fancy. There's collectibles coming out. You can get a Frankenstein statue at monstersinmotion.com right now. It's $255. That is like 2 weeks worth of groceries. And it ships a year from now. It ships next October. So I don't know. There are people out there who have the money, and God bless them.
And then there's us.
We can maybe afford this $100 talking sloth doll from the Goonies. Also available at monstersinmotion.com, shipping in April, which is a little bit more reasonable. I love the Goonies, but I do not want this ugly ass thing in my house. You guys? Would you have a talking sloth doll?
No, I think I'm good.
Somebody out there is going to want this. That's why we're mentioning it. But this next one, this is cool. At store.ign.com, you can, for $50 each, pre-order these figures right now from the Rankin Bass animated version of The Hobbit that came out in the late 70s. The first one, Bilbo, is going to ship in the second quarter of next year, and Gollum, with his little fish there, is going to ship in the third quarter. For $50, I'm almost ready to pull the trigger on these because I adore that animated Hobbit from beginning to end, all the folk music, Rankin Bass. Man, I love that shit. I would love for this to get the HD treatment on Blu-ray or 4K too, for that matter. But I think I'm going to end up with these on my shelf.
Yeah,
They look nice.
These are more in our budget.
Yeah, and affordable. They're vinyl.